Hello, my name's Dave Persons, and I'm pastor at the Wayside Presbyterian Church in Hamburg, New York. We're now coming to the season of Easter. Let me ask, what do you think about the resurrection of Jesus Christ? Do you think it of something that was literally a physical resurrection of the body, or was it more spiritual? I picked the latter. For years I was taught and believed that there was a bodily resurrection of Jesus. It's actually in one of the early 4th century creeds called the Apostles' Creed. But I always doubted it and wondered about it. So over the years I have thought and questioned and read some and studied, and I've come to the conclusion that it wasn't really a bodily resurrection, it was a spiritual, it was like an apparition, an appearance of the eternal Jesus. Apparitions can come in forms of bodies or noises or voices or sightings, but they're not bodily, physical resurrections. That meant so much more to me. There have been books since written that affirm and support this type of thinking. The University of North Carolina for several decades now has had a study of paranormal sightings, and it will bless you, it will interest you. It will affirm your belief in that eternal life of which Jesus spoke and taught about, and no doubt made appearances in apparitions after his death to assure his disciples that he was okay. Certainly something happened and voices were heard. A few years later, it was even heard by the Apostle Paul as he was on his journey to Damascus. He saw that light from the sky and that voice, and it turned out to be Jesus. So these are not abnormal, and University of North Carolina tracks a lot of these sightings. I hear many such stories from people in my congregation over the years. People sometimes, soon after their loved one dies, see that person in a mirror or in a chair. They hear voices of assurances and peace and consolation to them. In fact, in the last few years, I've heard 2 mothers who have lost their children have heard from their grandchildren voices from their sons that indeed they were okay and not to worry. These are just wonderful signs of assurance and peace to people. So these are what I'm talking about that came to Jesus. These were not just physical resurrections, but they were appearances of people that came to them. Now, if you've never had such a visitation, as it's often been called in history, you perhaps can have one just through simple times of daily prayer and quiet. Each day, many of us just sit quietly with an intention to hear messages from our guides and from our spirits that come to us through intuitions and sometimes from actual physical appearances that come. A couple weeks ago, I spent 4 days in the woods in an area monastery with the intention to hear and see signs of that presence of my guides and angels and the universal presence, and I was blessed with many of those. You also can receive some signs of the other side through techniques of breathing and meditation. In the recent years, Dr. Stanislav Grof from the Czech Republic, a psychiatrist, has developed a technique called holotropic breath work, where through controlled breathing and relaxation, accompanied with shamanic drumming, one can feel him or herself transported to an altered state on the other side. I've been practicing that for about 3 years now, and perhaps could write a book about that. So on this Easter season, on Easter Day and throughout the weeks and throughout the year that comes, my prayer and my hope is that all of us may have experiences of this presence come to us in various forms and sounds and appearances. Sometimes it can come to us even through the simple breaking of the bread, drinking of the cup, as it has for many throughout the centuries. My prayer is that you and I together will have many such experiences throughout the coming year, giving us increased peace, joy, confidence, and hope for whatever may come our way throughout the year. God bless you with this kind of peace and these kinds of assurances. This is Pastor Dave at the Wayside Presbyterian Church in Hamburg, wishing you a happy and glorious Easter season, many signs of God's presence in your lives. Goodbye.